courtroom goes silent. Mackenzie's hands won't stop shaking. Black mascara runs down her cheeks in uneven streaks, pooling at her jawline before dripping onto the wooden table. She leans toward her attorney, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm going home. I know I'm going home." Her breathing comes fast, shallow. The families behind her shift in their seats. Someone coughs. A phone buzzes and gets silenced. Judge Nancy Margaret Russo sits perfectly still, watching Mackenzie's trembling lips form the same quiet mantra over and over. "I'm going home. I'm going home." Then the judge reaches for something on her desk. A small black remote. Mackenzie doesn't notice. She's wiping her eyes, smudging the mascara further across her face. Her mother mouths something from the gallery. The prosecutor stands straighter. The defense attorney's pen stops moving mid-sentence. "Before I deliver the verdict," Judge Russo says, her voice cutting through the thick air, "there's something the court needs to see. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." Mackenzie's head snaps up. Her red-rimmed eyes lock onto the judge's hand as it presses a button. The screen on the courtroom wall flickers to life. Static crackles through the speakers. Then a voice fills the room. Mackenzie's voice. But this one isn't shaking. This one is laughing. The girl at the defense table freezes. Her mouth falls open. On screen, there's no mascara, no trembling, no whispered prayers. Just a teenager grinning into a prison phone, talking about going viral, asking if people are sharing her pictures, wondering if this whole thing might make her famous. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Mackenzie's chest heaves. She grabs her attorney's sleeve, her nails digging into the fabric. "Turn it off," she hisses. "Please, turn it off." But the judge doesn't move. The video keeps playing. And in that moment, two versions of Mackenzie Sharilla exist in the same room. The sobbing girl begging for mercy, and the one captured on camera, laughing like none of this was real. The question hits everyone at once, sharp and unavoidable. Which one is the truth? The defense table goes silent. The families of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan lean forward, their faces twisted in confusion and rage. Mackenzie's breathing turns ragged, desperate. She whispers something no one can hear. The screen glows. Her recorded laughter echoes, and Judge Russo's finger hovers over the remote, ready to show them more. July 31st, 2022, 5:28 in the morning. Strongsville, Ohio sits in near total darkness. Streetlights hum against empty sidewalks. The Progress Drive Business Park is a maze of concrete and glass, lifeless before sunrise. No cars, no workers, just shadows stretching long under dim orange light. Then the engine roar shatters everything. A gray sedan tears through the intersection, tires squealing as it rockets past darkened storefronts. 80 miles per hour. 90. 100. The speedometer needle buries itself at the far edge of the dial. Inside, 3 figures. Mackenzie behind the wheel, her knuckles white against the leather. Dominic Russo in the passenger seat, his hand braced against the dashboard. Davion Flanagan in the back, his body pressed against the door. The car doesn't slow. It accelerates. The turn ahead is sharp, a dead-end road that curves hard into a brick building. Mackenzie's foot slams down. The engine screams. Dominic yells something lost to the wind rushing through the cracked window. The headlights catch the building's face, red brick rushing closer, closer. No brake lights, no swerve. Just forward momentum, locked and committed. The impact is instant. Metal crunches. Glass explodes outward in 1,000 glittering pieces. The airbags burst open with chemical smoke. The car folds inward, the front end crumpling like paper. Steam hisses from the destroyed engine. Silence follows. Thick, absolute silence. Dominic Russo, 20 years old, stops breathing. Davion Flanagan, 19, is gone before the smoke clears. Mackenzie slumps against the deployed airbag, unconscious but alive. Her phone, cracked and glowing, lies on the floorboard. The screen shows a GPS map, a route she'd searched hours before. Investigators would later pull the data. They'd find search history, navigation, screenshots. The dead-end road wasn't a surprise. It was a destination. And the car didn't lose control. It committed to the turn, full throttle, no hesitation, like it knew exactly where it was going. 11 hours earlier. Mackenzie and Dominic are arguing in her car, parked outside a friend's apartment. Their voices rise and fall through the cracked windows. Someone walking past slows down, watching them through the glass. Dominic's hands move fast, gesturing, pleading. Mackenzie stares straight ahead, her jaw clenched so tight her teeth ache. She doesn't look at him. She scrolls through her phone instead, thumbs flying across the screen. Her messages are brutal. Short, clipped sentences fired at him in rapid succession. Friends later tell police they'd never seen her like this. Quiet Mackenzie, always smiling in photos, always the first to hug someone when they cried. Tonight, she's something else. Cold, distant, explosive. Davion gets in the back seat around midnight. He doesn't know what he's walking into. Dominic asks him to come, says they're just driving around, clearing the air. Davion agrees. He's that kind of friend. Calm, steady, the kind who shows up when someone needs company. The three of them drive through empty streets. Music plays low. No one talks much. Mackenzie's phone lights up every few minutes. Text notifications, social media alerts. Her fingers tap the screen obsessively, her face bathed in blue light. Dominic tries to reach for her hand. She pulls away. "Don't," she says. Just that one word. He doesn't try again. At 4 in the morning, her phone records a search. Progress Drive, Strongsville. Then another. Dead-end roads near me. Then screenshots. 3 of them. Maps. Satellite views. Turn-by-turn directions. She saves them all. The phone's GPS activates. A route appears. Mackenzie studies it for 17 seconds before locking the screen. She starts the car. Dominic asks where they're going. She doesn't answer. She just drives. And the GPS data doesn't lie. She knew exactly where that dead-end road was. She'd mapped it, memorized it, marked it. And now, hours before sunrise, she was heading straight toward it. The first officer arrives at 5:43. 15 minutes after impact. The sky is still dark, just a thin band of grey light bleeding across the horizon. His headlights catch the wreckage first. Smoke rises in lazy spirals from the crumpled hood. The airbags hang deflated and stained inside the shattered windows. He radios for backup, his voice tight and controlled. "Single vehicle, major damage, multiple occupants." He approaches slowly, flashlight cutting through the haze. The smell hits him before he reaches the door. Burnt rubber, gasoline, something sharper, metallic, blood. He kneels beside the driver's side. Mackenzie is slumped forward, her face pressed against the airbag. Her chest rises and falls. Shallow breaths. Alive. He moves to the passenger side. Dominic's eyes are open but empty. No pulse. No movement. The officer's jaw tightens. He doesn't touch him. He backs away and circles to the rear door. Davion is twisted at an unnatural angle, his body caught between the seat and the crushed frame. The officer stops. His flashlight beam holds steady on the scene. He's been doing this job for 12 years. He knows accidents. He knows panic stops, overcorrections, blown tires, black ice. This doesn't look like any of those. He walks back to the front of the car, crouches low, and sweeps his light across the pavement. No skid marks, not one. The asphalt is clean, unbroken. His flashlight moves to the building's brick wall, now caved inward where the car struck. The impact pattern is direct, centered, committed. Another officer arrives, then paramedics, then fire rescue. They pull Mackenzie from the wreckage, strap her to a backboard, load her into the ambulance. She doesn't wake up during transport. The first officer stands beside his car, arms crossed, staring at the wreck. His partner walks over. "What do you think?" The officer doesn't answer right away. He looks at the skid-free pavement, the full throttle impact, the perfect alignment. Then he says it, quiet enough that only his partner hears. "This doesn't look like an accident." 3 weeks pass before the black box data comes back. The car's event recorder holds everything. Speed, braking, steering input, throttle position. The investigators download it in a sterile white room, the numbers scrolling across a screen in cold, emotionless rows. 0 braking input. Full throttle at impact. Steering locked straight ahead. No correction attempt, no panic swerve, just acceleration into a wall. The lead investigator leans back in his chair, reading the report for the 3rd time. He circles 2 phrases with a red pen. Sustained acceleration and no deceleration event. He slides the folder across the table to the prosecutor. "She didn't just lose control," he says. "She aimed." The prosecution builds their case around intent. They argue Mackenzie Sharilla didn't crash. She attacked. The relationship conflict, the GPS searches, the lack of skid marks, the black box showing full commitment to impact. They call it murder by vehicle. Premeditated, calculated. A weapon with 4 wheels. The defense pushes back hard. They present Mackenzie as a panicked teenager who made a tragic mistake. Young, scared, overwhelmed. They argue the car malfunctioned, that she froze, that the crash was a split-second loss of control, not a deliberate act. They bring in experts who talk about trauma responses, fight or flight failures, young brains under stress. The courtroom becomes a battlefield of narratives. 2 stories, same evidence, different conclusions. Judge Nancy Margaret Russo sits through every minute. She doesn't interrupt, doesn't react. She takes notes in neat, precise handwriting, her face unreadable. She's known in Cuyahoga County as analytical, patient, thorough. She doesn't rush verdicts. She doesn't play to cameras. She listens. She waits. She weighs. The trial stretches through July and into August of 2023. Families pack the gallery. Reporters fill the back rows. Mackenzie sits at the defense table every day, her eyes red, her hands clasped tight. She cries often. She shakes her head when the prosecution speaks. She mouths, "I'm sorry," to the families when they testify. And then, in the final week, the prison phone calls surface, recordings from the jail. Conversations Mackenzie had while waiting for trial, and everything changes. Her laughter crackles through the speaker, sharp, bright, untouched by grief. Mackenzie leans back against the cold concrete wall of her cell, phone pressed to her ear, grinning as she talks to her mother about going viral. The recording timestamp reads, February 2023. 7 months after the crash. 4 months before the verdict. She hasn't cried once on these calls. Not once. Her voice carries confidence, almost excitement, as she tells her mother about the Facebook groups analyzing her case, the screenshots circulating, the strangers picking sides. Her mother responds with equal energy, asking if Kim Kardashian might tweet about it, wondering how many views the trial footage is getting. Mackenzie giggles. Actually, giggles. She mentions seeing herself on TikTok, people making edits, some calling her guilty, others defending her. She sounds thrilled. The conversation shifts to her appearance, what she'll wear to court, how to style her hair for the cameras. Her mother suggests mascara that won't run if she cries. Mackenzie agrees, saying she needs to look good for the screenshots. Neither mentions Dominic. Neither mentions Davian. The call ends with Mackenzie saying she'll probably walk free, that the prosecution has nothing solid, that her lawyer told her to stay calm. She sounds like she believes it, like she's already planning her comeback. And none of them knew these calls would soon be played inside a courtroom that was already divided. Mackenzie's hands tremble in court the next morning. Her shoulders shake, tears streaming down both cheeks, mascara bleeding into dark trails. She dabs at her eyes with a tissue, her breathing shallow and uneven. The defense attorney stands close, one hand hovering near her back, ready to steady her if she collapses. Prosecutors watch from across the room, arms folded, faces unreadable. They've just submitted the prison phone recordings as evidence. All of them. The judge allowed it. The defense argued the calls were irrelevant, that private conversations between a scared daughter and her mother had nothing to do with intent. The prosecution disagreed. They positioned the recordings as proof of her true character, the mask slipping when she thought no one important was listening. Judge Nancy Margaret Russo sits elevated, hands folded on the bench, eyes moving between Mackenzie's trembling frame and the stack of transcripts in front of her. She hasn't spoken yet. Hasn't ruled on their relevance to the verdict. The courtroom holds its breath. Reporters lean forward. Families of Dominic and Davian sit frozen in the front row, waiting to hear the girl who killed their sons laugh about viral fame. Mackenzie whispers something to her attorney, her voice barely audible. He shakes his head. She whispers again, more desperate this time. He leans in to listen. But Judge Russo was waiting for just one more piece of evidence. The courtroom smells like old wood and tension. August 21st, 2023. Verdict day. Mackenzie sits rigid in her chair, fingers laced together so tight her knuckles have gone white. Her chest rises and falls too fast, like she's been running. Reporters fill the back rows, phones silenced but ready. Dominic's mother sits 3 feet behind the prosecution table, tissue already crumpled in her fist. Davion's father stares straight ahead, jaw locked. The defense attorney adjusts his tie twice in 30 seconds. Mackenzie leans toward him, her lips moving rapidly, words tumbling out in desperate whispers. She says she'll be okay. She says the prosecution didn't prove intent. She says accidents happen. She says the jury will see she's just a kid who panicked. Her attorney nods, but doesn't meet her eyes. Judge Russo enters through the side door, black robe swaying as she climbs to her seat. The room goes silent. Mackenzie's breathing becomes the loudest sound. The judge arranges papers on the bench, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks at Mackenzie for 3 full seconds. Then she looks at the families. Then she reaches for something on the desk. A remote. But before she said the words guilty or not guilty, she reached for the remote. The screen flickers to life. Mackenzie's voice fills the courtroom, laughing, confident, carefree. The first recording plays, February 12th, 2023. She's talking about her case blowing up online, about people making TikToks, about the attention. Her mother's voice responds, asking if any celebrities have mentioned it yet. Mackenzie says not yet, but maybe soon. The courtroom is frozen. Jurors lean forward. One woman in the second row covers her mouth. Dominic's mother closes her eyes, tears sliding down silently. The second call plays, March 5th, 2023. Mackenzie laughs harder this time, joking about her mugshot going viral, saying she looks better in person. Her mother agrees, saying the lighting was bad. A third call, April 18th, 2023. Mackenzie discussing trial outfits. What colors photograph well? Whether her hair should be up or down. The judge stops the playback. Silence settles heavy and suffocating. Judge Russo removes her glasses, sets them down carefully. She explains why these calls matter. Not because they prove intent in the crash itself, but because they reveal mindset, maturity, sincerity. Because they expose the difference between the girl sobbing in court and the girl laughing in private. Because remorse cannot exist in 2 contradictory forms. She picks up the verdict sheet. Guilty. All counts, murder. Mackenzie's face drains of color. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes. Then her knees buckle. The chair screeches backward as she collapses forward, hyperventilating, sobbing so hard her whole body convulses. She reaches for her attorney, clawing at his sleeve, gasping for air between screams. She begs, "Please, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Please." Her mother rushes forward from the gallery, security stepping in to block her. Mackenzie's crying turns guttural, primal, echoing off the courtroom walls. She whispers through choking sobs, "Mom, what do I do now?" The courtroom goes silent. 15 years to life. The sentence lands like a boulder dropped into still water. Mackenzie is led out in handcuffs, her face buried in her hands, shoulders still shaking. The families of Dominic and Davion stand together in the hallway afterward, holding each other, crying openly. Dominic's mother speaks to reporters through tears, saying justice was served, but her son is still gone. Davion's father says nothing, just stares at the floor, hands trembling. The community splits down the middle. Some say Mackenzie was a manipulative killer who played the victim until the mask fell. Others say she was a teenager who made a catastrophic mistake and panicked. The phone calls circulate online for weeks, dissected frame by frame, word by word. The contradiction becomes the story. The girl who laughed about going viral versus the girl who collapsed when consequences arrived. The girl who joked with her mother versus the girl who begged for forgiveness when the verdict was read. Questions linger in comment sections, in late-night discussions, in classrooms debating intent versus accident. How much does private behavior reveal about a person? Can public tears be trusted when private words tell a different story? What does justice look like when youth, emotion, and irreversible decisions collide? The courtroom doors closed that day, but the questions remain open. Was this a tragedy of intent, calculated and cold, or a tragedy of immaturity with a price no one could reverse? And as the world moved on, one truth stayed constant. 2 families would never get their sons back, and one girl would spend the rest of her life trying to answer for what happened in those final seconds before impact. If this story moved you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next case that challenges everything you thought you knew about justice. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Share this story. Inspire others. We'll see you in the next one.